That's my best friend. That's my best friend.
The night alone. I have two brothers that live with me along with my single mom, so usually I have company, but on this night I was lucky to be by myself. My mom was somewhere with friends, I assume. My older brother was out drinking, and my younger brother was with a friend spending the night. I had been watching The Twilight Zone most of the night along with scary YouTube videos. Usually they don't bother me, and this time was no different until I went into the kitchen. Something was watching me, I could feel it. I shook it off as paranoid thoughts. I opened the fridge and saw that there was a lot of beer and other alcoholic beverages left. I'm not much of a drinker, but my boredom got the best of me and I started drinking them. I was watching the YouTube videos again, this time about ghosts, when that feeling hit me again. I had drank enough to do away with my motor skills, so I got up and stumbled but looked around and asked whatever it was to show itself. Nothing happened, so I shook it off again and went back to the videos, syncing my phone to the TV so I could get close and drown everything out with noise. I then started to hear a girl's screaming. I assumed it was a part of the video as I turned the TV down, but the screaming was still just as loud and it was hurting my head. I covered my ears and went to go outside, stumbling the whole way. As I opened the door I noticed I didn't feel any temperature change like I expected. It had been a cold night, and earlier when I let one of the dogs in, it chilled my exposed skin as I was only wearing shorts and no shirt. I was shocked to see that I was right back in my living room. I couldn't believe it, so I turned around and opened the door again. Still, I returned to my living room. The screaming was now as loud as ever and I covered my ears, sinking to the floor almost to tears with the cold door on my back. I closed my eyes and sank into a sleep somehow. I awoke on my couch and my phone was on the floor. I thought the happenings as a bad dream. I grabbed my phone and it had a text from a named contact that read him. Along with a text reading, "There is no escape, we have come to claim your sanity." Then, I could feel the eyes on me and I ran to my room, which is only separated by a curtain on a rod. I fell in my drunken haste through the curtain, and landed in my bathroom on the tile floor. I got up and went to the window as the screaming started again. I ignored it the best I could, but it was so loud. I broke the screen and crawled out, feeling the cold night air on my skin as I fell. It was dark and I seemed to fall forever. To my horror, a face appeared in front of me. It was human, with sunken eyes that had little white lights in the back and twisted long teeth that showed through its smile. I went to scream, but it was cut short as I landed hard on my kitchen floor. The wood under my face felt oddly warm and I put my hands under me to support myself to get up. Then the carpet started to move as it was breathing. I ran into the living room right ahead of me. It was the actual living room. My heart was pounding as I couldn't believe what was happening. I got another text and I pulled out my phone to read. The him contact had sent me another spine-chilling message. This one read, "There is no escape. Check the time." Sure enough, my phone's clock read 9:30 p.m., the time it was when I started drinking. I pressed the call button and it didn't even ring as a voice that was gruff spoke through the speaker, "We know how to take you. Just give up." I looked around as I heard scratching from every direction. My heart felt as it was going to burst and my head was throbbing. I was dripping a cold sweat as fingers poked through the wall. They were bloody and unusually long for human fingers. I tried the last room I could, my mom's room. I went in there to find the creature in complete darkness, its smile dripping with a dark liquid that flooded the floor. Small porcelain hands shot through. Rats fell from the ceiling and on my shoulder. I started screaming but nothing came out. I could feel their warm wet fur on my shoulders and hear them. I started kicking and thrashing at them. Then I looked back at the creature as it opened its mouth to send more ooze onto the floor. The hands crawled to small porcelain dolls. Their soulless glass eyes looked into mine as they in unison made a giggling sound that transformed into a demonic laugh. I started to walk back as their eyes started tearing blood, but their thin smile stayed. The rats were crawling at my feet as I turned and ran, the creature in the middle of the room not moving. I was back in the living room and slamming the door behind me, crying in fear. Then I felt a hand on my face. Cold as ice as it let blood drip down my cheek onto my chest. I leaned forward and screamed, crawling away from it. I looked around sobbing as I saw the fingers now had arms and hand. They were muscle all the way up to their wrists. The room seemed to breathe as it expanded and shrunk. I could feel a hot air come from the open doorways that seemed to burn my skin. I crawled to the bathroom and ended up in my bedroom. Bright red eyes seemed to cover the windows and the screaming started again. I was scared, confused, and hurting from my head to my overworked heart as I backed my back against the wall and covered my ears, crying. I felt a vibration on my leg and pulled out my phone. It was him. The message sent me into an even bigger panic than before as it read, "This is only the beginning." I tried 911 even though I knew it wouldn't work. When I typed the 3 numbers it wouldn't appear on the screen. I begged with whatever was there to let me go, and I heard a voice that seemed to come from my own thoughts, but I knew was not my own, say, "Your sanity will be ours." I ran back out of the room and came into the living room. I ran towards the door of my mom's room and swung it open. I screamed as I fell into the black ooze. I expected thick slimy goo, but I free fall into darkness. The creature started appearing everywhere and reaching its abnormally long hands at me, barely missing. I went to scream at it but my voice was gone. Then I hit something cold and covered in rocks. I was in my driveway and my mom was pulling up. I got up and moved her out of her way. She asked why I was crying but smelled the beer and put it off as me being dramatic. I begged her to not go inside and she ignored me walking in the door. I followed her as she went in with nothing happening. I followed, then the creature smiled at me from the ceiling and I was back in the basement. I heard my mother's cry for help as it tortured her for what seemed days, sending body part after part. Here I lay on the cold cement floor after what feels like weeks. I haven't gotten anything to eat or drink from the creature. He leaves me down here in my drunken haze. My phone's still charged with the time 9:30 at the top. My mom's head on a spike as its twisted features stuck in fear staring at me. My brothers had returned home. I could hear them but they were spared. I could hear the cops search the house. I could hear them in the basement but could not see them. I screamed and screamed to nothing good happening. They found mom's body but no head. I could hear them and how they blamed me. I've tried to kill myself at least 100 times. Every time appearing in the damp dark hell with that damned monster grinning at me. He talks to me, he tells me I can help him rule. I just have to give my sanity to him. He says I can torture whoever I want. With every time I refuse his offer he sends something new and twisted after me. Last time it was my mother's head telling me how I should have saved her. It then opened its jaw to where I could fit my head in. It then let locusts are eating me alive. Of course I came back here. I've cried all my tears and now numb to everything. The creature's deal seeming like my only escape, and you know what? I know a few people who should die.